I'm late for my own show. That's nuts. Hey guys, happy day. It's Thursday, June 11. Hope all's well with you and you and you and you and you. Good to see you guys. Let me check my volume. Sound preferences. I should have done this earlier. I was prepping for the show and time just ran away. It just ran away from me. How you guys doing? Good to see ya. Ryan, I don't know what's wrong with you, man, but you need a wrench. What the hell, dude? Jeez. Curious, brah? Take that. Let's say hi to the chat. Hi, chat. I would like to give a special shout out. There's a time to say thank you to some people, yeah. Purple Rose Bear, Brendan O'Keefe, Mylan Mazzotti, Denise DeMartini, Cramerica 1999, Slow Mo Moon Buggy, The Well-Read Poet, R. Smith, Learning to Fly, Jack 68, Dreamchild 76, Will Jones, OKC Guitar Bear, Callie, of course Callie, thank you so much Callie, Jason Day, Joseph Paul, and Panzer Faust. You guys rocked it yesterday with the super chats, and I gotta tell you, it's been great because yesterday's episode was also demonetized, so we are on a winning streak here, and I could not do it without you guys. So thank you so much to you and all the patrons out there. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, for being spare, good to see you. We have a show for you today. It's up to you to decide, is it a good one? Is this a good show? You're already thinking, it's hard to tell. He just started. He was late. We'll just have to find out, right? All right. So let's do it. I should have prepped. I normally prep like what I'm going to say first, and I did not do that, and I really, really should have done that. Let's start with this. There are wonders in the world. Some say there are 7 of them. Some say that there are 7 wonders of the world, and you were taught as a child, there's the 7 wonders of the world. And by knowing those wonders, there is a deep, deep, deep mind control that gets installed in your head. Do you know what that is? It's thinking that you know all the wonders of the world. This is a deep, deep, deep mind control. It's been here a long time. I would say this has been here longer than globe Earth, longer than relativity, longer than Newton, longer than most of the psyops that you might be aware of today. You don't have to agree with all the ones I just mentioned, but just saying, most of the psyops that you agree with today, probably one of the oldest is the 7 wonders of the world. And when you hear about the 7 wonders of the world, it comes with a subterranean belief that there are known wonders of the world. And this is basically, the world's been solved in a way. The world's been conquered. In fact, when you begin to go to school, you need to, you were installed by learning, hey man, here's everything we know about the world. In fact, you don't come home from school saying, hey mom, you know what I learned we don't know today? I learned we don't know how gravity works. I learned that we don't actually know how tides are controlled. Hey mom, did you know that we have no idea really how old the pyramids are? No one comes home from school telling their parents, what did you learn that you didn't know today? It doesn't work that way. It's the complete antithesis of that. You actually enter into this realm thinking that you know everything. That's actually why you go to school. You don't go to school to learn things. You go to school to learn everything. And that's the biggest problem. In fact, it's what's vexing most of the man pigs that are wearing masks and crawling on their bellies around you, pretending to be these people, right? Hey, Bullets and Bears, I'm gonna time you out because it's I get it. You you want to see me without my hat or whatever, but it's just that's the 3rd or 4th time I've seen you make that comment, and I just want to concentrate on the show. It's cold here, and I'm just wearing a hat. That's all. It's just a hat. It's no big deal. All right. So we got a lot of cool stuff to to cover here. Okay, seriously, shut up, man. With these pyramids come stories that explain, because you have to know everything and learn everything. You are told these stories that that gives you, quenches your thirst. You think that, okay, now I know it all, now I understand it all, and you are left with the satisfaction with what you think you have, is, oh, you now know things. But really what happens is that someone came in at night and butt raped your sense of wonder. They took that away from you, because now you are not allowed to project the same type of enthusiasm into the pyramids. In fact, when you do that, other people will just simply tell you, they will spit out, hear this word please carefully, they will spit out scripture, scientism scripture, okay? They will inject that into you so that you know what it is that you don't have to know that you don't know. Well, let me say that again. You learn that you actually do not unknow anything. That's truly part of what happens here. And so as we start to learn history, what we're really doing is learning things that make us feel like we know things. Okay, things that make us feel like we know things. And I just to kind of give you that example, I would like to actually discuss very briefly. This is actually not a big part of the show today, but very briefly, just to show you a few things that you think you know that we actually don't know. This is a schematic of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid. And you will see here, this is what they call the King's Chamber. And here is the 5 megalithic blocks. Some people call them relief blocks, but I have never found an engineer that said, oh, that's just how you relief a roof. You make these blocks. And then it has these south chambers. This is the south side. Actually, if you see the north there, I just realized you can't see my mouse. I'm going to get that fixed, by the way. But on the south side, you have 2 shafts, and on the north side, you have 2 shafts. People like Graham Hancock, I know a lot of you like him, have told you that these are star shafts, that these are for starlight, and that they're there to point into Orion because aliens exist and asteroids are coming to butt rape your children at night, so you need to freak the fuck out. That's what Graham Hancock tells you. Again, I get it. A lot of you guys like Graham Hancock. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? I like Underdog. I fucking love that guy. A dog in his pajamas was the only superhero I thought we needed. I'm just saying. It's Graham Hancock told the world that these were star shafts, that the pyramids were pointing to the dog star Sirius, and all of this was an interstellar reptilian ritual. And I don't mind you thinking that. I don't even mind you going, that's an interesting idea. It's tricky, though, when all this stuff gets put on History Channel as if it's historic. And the problem with that is that there's just some issues. Now, see, what I'm getting at is it's not about bashing Graham Hancock. I keep telling myself, James, a lot of people like Graham Hancock. You need to shut up about Graham Hancock. People are going to like him. And it isn't even against him. If I met him, I would be like, dude, let's have dinner. I would love to talk to you about why you thought that these are star shafts, among other things. Now, number one, the south side chamber actually doesn't penetrate the pyramid. Neither one of them do, but the south side especially. It's very, very deeply set back into the rock, okay? It's actually sticking inside the rock. It's not coming outside the rock. Furthermore, and this is the big critical one. Let me see if I got you guys a graphic of this. Furthermore, this shaft, speaking of shaft, this shaft curves. Please see this picture. What you're looking at is a picture of the south shaft inside the Queen's Chamber. Excuse me. And inside that shaft is a bend. It bends. Not only does it bend, it's actually a soft bend. There's actually 3 separate chambers that make this south shaft. One is a straight shaft. You're looking right at it right now. And then another is a bend. It's a curved, rounded, smooth shaft. And then that gives you a bend. Let me hide this so I can show you my fingers. That gives you a bend going up. And then it hits the final shaft, which does not actually penetrate the pyramid. Okay? This is not about starlight, my friends. It's not. Okay? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. This is what's there. What you see is one of two copper terminals. In fact, I think I have one with both. Two copper terminals are at the end of that shaft. Before I show you that, I'm sorry about that. I should have had these in order. You can see the bends that I'm talking about. These bends, here's one, northern shaft. It gets there and has to do a massive curve around the Grand Gallery. And then this other shaft over here, it also has to do a curve. All right? So there's not actually a shaft that penetrates the pyramid, nor is there a shaft that points directly from one of the chambers to a certain star. You could argue that the north shaft on the south side alone, it does. But again, it has to come down, bounce, and then hit straight out, and then penetrate through several feet of rock. What is there, though, is this terminating door. And I see this picture's missing. It's this terminating door is there. And they sent a robot up this terminating door. You guys probably remember that. They sent it up the King's Chamber and Queen's Chamber. This robot went up the Queen's Chamber, I believe. And it found a small wall, right? A rock wall. And behind that rock wall was basically just another thicker rock wall. At least that's all they showed us, okay? Keep in mind, we don't know what they see versus what they show us. But let's pretend like that what they show us, shaft again, is real. And let me show you what you saw. What you saw was, come on now, is this. Two of these. Now, the picture I had with the second one, I don't know why it's not there, but it's supposed to be there. But there's two of these, one right next to each other. These are copper pieces. The reason why I want you to know this, I'm not here to solve the pyramid mystery for you, my friends. I'm here to tell you that they were copper and that the shafts were not pointing at starlight. So why would you go to all this trouble to build a shaft and only have copper terminals sticking out of it? It's pretty weird, right? More so, why would you in that chamber in the middle of the blocks? Not in the middle, but in the heart of the stone itself. Why would you in that, right? Why would you penetrate through the limestone foreground to hit these larger stone blocks behind it and have nothing but copper, two terminals doing so? Now, I cannot prove to you that this is an electrical device, but what you're looking at on your screen is what's called the Baghdad battery. This Baghdad battery was found in Iraq, and I'm getting to it. Some of you guys are probably already typing, but James, I'll get there. This Baghdad battery was found, and it's basically, they call it the Baghdad battery, to be fair. It's only called that. Potential spam, please leave me alone. The Baghdad battery is a piece of pottery. It has they believe it had electrolytes in different areas. It had a cork stopper on top. People who believe in having an answer for everything tell you this is to hold scrolls, that there's no way it would hold electricity. However, they've done tests on this, and it actually does hold electricity. It's just very minor voltage, but it does hold electricity. This is a pyramid shaft also. This is Zahi Hawass, right? This is the dude that's in charge of Egyptology. And I wanted you to see what a UNESCO sodomite looks like. UNESCO sodomites represent World Heritage Sites, and it's their job to lie in exchange for anal sex later off camera. And that's basically what this man does. He's here to perpetuate the myth that all of these were made by slaves, that all of them were made with one stone pounding another stone, and that this was taking place at such a rate that every 7 minutes, a multi-ton block was being placed with precision in exactly the right spot in 20 years, and they made their deadline. Pyramid shaft. This is the pyramid shaft. You're looking at it, okay? I'm not saying he's like Graham Hancock. I'm saying that there are steps. And I do believe that Graham Hancock is closely heading towards the steps of Zahi Hawass. But I have compassion for Graham. I even have compassion for this pyramid shaft that don't even like him being next to me on the screen. We have to just roll with it. All right. Now, speaking of rolling with it, you're looking at a picture of a round granite ball, not a limestone ball, a granite ball, the hardest stone that there is. This ball has been shaped into a sphere. Zahid Dawaz tells you, well, that's because this was a hammer, and they used this for hammering. But this ball fits inside the shaft. Additionally, the southern shaft has a bend, and there is a dude named Hitchens, there's a link in the description, who suggests that that bend would stop this ball from being clogged. In other words, that this ball was somehow released from the south shaft. It would roll downhill, and because of the curve in the shaft, it would allow it to hit and strike the wall inside the Queen's Chamber. A stone wall, very thin wall, maybe an inch. Okay? I'm not here to solve the pyramid. I'm just here to tell you that what you've been told you know is actually bunk. That it's beautiful. It's more beautiful than that. We have mystery. We don't know exactly why. I propose that this ball is some sort of release agent that gets triggered through a flood. I cannot prove that. But I do believe that this is somehow triggered inside of a flood. So imagine the ball rolling down this chamber and striking this wall. I don't know how it works. But I do know this. The only decoration on the pyramid is attributed to David, who just gave me a super chat for $5 Canadian. Do you see how much a super chat is worth? That just with one super chat, the entire north door of the pyramid has now been dedicated to David. Thank you, David. Back to the show here. This is the north door of the pyramid. It's the only decoration on the pyramid ever. And you could barely see it in this picture. But below these lintels, these chevron lintels, right in here inside this smaller pyramid is an eye. It's actually a relief of an eye, a carved retina. Below this are giant stones, much bigger than the pyramid stones, much bigger. And those stones are doing something that I think is a huge clue. What are they doing? They're blocking the door. They are blocking the door to the pyramid. My friends, none of us in known history, all the way back to Egypt, all the way back to the first, second, and third dynasties, all the way back to the transition periods, none of us have entered the pyramid through its door. Not one of us has done that. We have been using the thieves' entrance the whole time. The entire time we've been using the thieves' entrance. The only decoration is an eye, a single eye. And it's such a relief that if you were to be miles and miles away and there was to be torchlight at the entrance shining up on that eye eye itself would glow in the distance. It would shine for miles and miles, is what I say. If you look there, you can start to see the relief of it. It's about, I don't know, like a foot of difference between like the front of the eye and the back of the eye. And basically, as that was shown, right, just the front was hitting with light, but the back was hitting with shadow, so it kind of paints that eye look. It is very, very much made a strong impression from far away. Thank you, Jennifer Davenport, for the super chat. Hi. Now, I think it's interesting that the only decoration on the pyramid is that eye. I also think it's interesting that all of known history covered that eye up with other stones. It was covered up. It was covered up almost as if they were priming or burying a time capsule. All right? That in order for the time capsule to survive, they covered the door with stone. And they knew that when the people were ready, they would find that stone door and they would use it. All right? We don't know who built the pyramids. When we attribute it to Cheops, it is because one person wrote Kilroy is here in paint, crudely. Not even like plaster, not even a nice design. Literally just scrawled Kilroy was here in Egyptian. And we said, oh, this pyramid belongs to Kilroy. Kilroy built this pyramid. and the truth that Joseph Paul, Ripson, and Simon 33 contributed to this pyramid with their super chats, saying, if you build it and let's try this again, and mine's only 3, it never would have happened without them combining their efforts with City of Maple Bear for another $10 super chat. We have a pyramid. The people who are in charge of telling you the truth are not telling you the truth, and they're not lying. They believe what they believe. Graham Hancock is a sincere man. He believes asteroids are coming. He believes the star shafts are pointing to Sirius. That's in his belief system. He would not be as sincere or as effective in delivering this to you had you not detected his sincerity. This is how it works. But who's History Channel gonna promote? Are they going to run James True's story of the real Civil War, where we talk about how come all these Spanish troops with their own ships were involved? Or are we going to go, no, it's about racism, man. It's about America and racism. See, no one here has to lie. The news networks get to pluck which crops they want. And they like blue space chickens, right? They like asteroids. They like star shafts. They like anything History Channel gives you. Love the gravy, James. Thank you, Golden Pool. Thank you. A red squirrel is now on my keyboard. I'm not kidding. Statue Man, thank you too. Guys, I'm going to get assaulted if I don't grab this. Hang on a sec. Okay, thanks, Callie. So, the pyramid is not a wonder of the world. The pyramid is a question of the world. These are questions that we have, not answers. We have questions, and it's beautiful to have questions. We are learning in a world of unlearning things. We are learning that unlearning, that having an agnosis, that having a mystery is beautiful. Having a mystery is amazing. It makes us wonder. It is a necessary yogic exercise that we do with our brains. But school tells you there are no mysteries. School tells you everything's solved, right? It demands that you understand that everything is solved. Thank you, Silver. Slipner 22, Shaft, Shaft. And Anthony Patron, $10. Thanks. Best wishes, James. Thank you. Thank you very much. Office hours Saturday. You guys know that. Patron office hours Saturday. It'll be fun. So, back to the pyramids. They are not what we think they are. They could be something much more important. Those wires, guys, keep in mind that most of the time the Sphinx has been covered. All right? It's been covered up for a long, long time. And these Baghdad batteries, the reason why I'm bringing them up is because people steal history. They steal things. This obelisk, there's only one obelisk. Do you know where the other obelisk is? It's in Paris. People steal things from Egypt. There are more obelisks in Rome that have crosses on top than there are in Egypt now. All right? There is a giant market for antiquity, not only money-wise, but pranic-wise too. It's a double market. All right? This idea that you've been sold, that the Baghdad battery is bunk. This just came out, if you don't know this, about the Baghdad battery. I would like to ask you something. If the Baghdad battery is not what we think it is, if we think that it's actually everything's solved and everything's figured out, how come in 2003, when we invaded Iraq, How come the Iraqi Museum of Antiquities was looted and the Baghdad batteries were taken? Why is that gone? If it's such not a big deal, if it doesn't mean anything, why is that piece of history missing now? Why in the Bible are the pyramids not mentioned? Why is Heliopolis mentioned? Right? It's a day's walk north on a slow, fat, retired camel. It's a human could walk in one day to the pyramids from Heliopolis. But there's no mention of that. Why are there ancient stories of electroplating? Literally covering an obelisk with a mixture of silver and bronze. That's like really advanced stuff. Look at all the jewelry. Look at the stone pottery that looks like it's been spun on a lathe. And just understand you're not being told everything in a blatant way. In a very big blatant way. Gaia Bear, $5 super chat. Limestone can be made. The pyramid blocks have never moved. They were created when they were in molds. Thanks for the gravy. Interesting theory. Best wishes, James. Thank you. Oh, I already said that. Thank you. Now, this is Cambodia. I'm pretty sure it's Cambodia. I'm showing you this picture not to get lost on this because we could do a whole episode on things that are over there. The reason why I'm showing you this picture is because I want you to understand that when you look at intricacies like that, where each level is copied, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, looks like 9, 10, 12, maybe a 12-tier podcasters, you're looking at a 12-tier intricate building where each level is a fractal of itself but smaller, and each level is a fractal of itself and smaller. Each level is a fractal of itself and smaller. I would like you to pretend that you have a 3D printer at your home, and you ask anyone who has a 3D printer and ask them, what does that remind you of? And they will say, that reminds me of 3D printing for some reason. The reason why it reminds you of that is because in a 3D printer you can hit copy and paste, shrink 92%. Copy and paste, shrink 92%, right? It's called duplicate and copy in most programs. Excuse me, I'm about to cough. Thanks for the super chat, Iger. Hey, I like your channel. Discovered a few days ago, but I've already ordered 2 books from you. Happy summer greetings from Swedish Lapland. Hey, I like Swedish Lapland. God, Swedish Lapland, that sounds fantastic. There's like a place you could go where there's like Swedish women that have laps, and they're like, welcome to Swedish Lapland. That sounds like an awesome place to be. Okay, so, James, you're talking crazy. That wasn't 3D printed. I'm not saying that was 3D printed. I'm saying that there is an art form that comes out as a result of your technology, guys. The reason why you have relief carvings that don't have convex or concave edges inside them is because chisels will not fit. That's all I'm saying. You can discern how something was made by backtracing the technology used. But you're only going to do that if your mind is open and you don't just assume or believe everything that's been told to you by shafts like Zahi Zawas. All right? UNESCO, that's their job, to erase history. The reason why Smithsonian threw away all their giant bones is because they are erasing history. Guys, I'm pretty level-headed when it comes to stuff like that. I'm just telling you the information that's out there, all right? And more importantly, the information that's been covered. But if you can never picture that we had an advanced civilization before, you would never be able to look at what's on the screen and say, hey, it looks like something like a 3D printer. You'd be laughed out of the room because you'd be like, well, that's absurd. Why is it absurd to assume that civilization's been advanced before? Isn't it absurd to think that it hasn't been? Aren't we supposed to be told that we're living across 7 trillion lifetimes or whatever? And that because of how far away the stars are, which, by the way, is so fucked up. Because if you're looking at anything about parallax, those stars should be moving inside themselves. But they have to create this 7 billion year timeline to explain why things are so freaking far away. The odds that we haven't been here before are so much worse, right, than the potential that we have. That's my main point. That's my main point. And why would you take away the very evidence of it? Why? If it's not a big deal, why would you loot that? Makes no sense at all. Shaft. Did I cover all these images? I got more, don't you worry. Yeah, I got them all. I put a link in the paper to Hitchens' paper. I'm not saying Hitchens is right, but he's the only person that's just honestly telling you about the shafts. It's really nice of him to do that. But we're not being told things. You're told this is ancient, historically carved marble. It's in museums. Italy, the Louvre, London. They're telling you this was carved by a man with a chisel. And just like every other lie they tell you, they use it to make you think, you see how Neanderthal you are? You could never do this. And if you're in the 3D world, it's the only time where this isn't that impressive. Trust me, it's impressive. But if you do 3D rendering for a living, if you do 3D modeling for a living, this is called a cloth sim, a cloth simulation. It's a very simple 3D program that you run that you can simulate cloth. Seriously. Every fold in that cloth can be determined by a computer right now. It's really amazing technology. There's no way that a chisel can carve this. Please don't hear me saying there's no way that someone could be talented enough to... No. There's no way a physical chisel could carve this, guys. It doesn't happen that way. This is something else. And we don't have to solve it. My point is to embrace the agnosis. Embrace the mystery. All right? Sylvie has done some great stuff on this. I'm one of her biggest fans. I recommend you guys check out her channel, New Earth. I don't negotiate, that's a cool word. I don't negotiate with Sylvie. I don't agree with Sylvie on everything, but she's so profound because she's outside the box and she's thinking about this stuff that you have to look at it. You just have to, and I bless her for that. And I leave thanking Sylvie because she left me with more questions. I now have more mystery thanks to Sylvie. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift she gives us. These are cloth simulations, guys. That's all. They're beautiful, but they're cloth simulations. And if you work in 3D every day as a modeler, you'd be like, it's not bad. It's not bad. This is a cloth simulation. It's very easy to do in 3D. This is actually a wet cloth simulation, believe it or not. You can do those. You can aspire as much wetness as you want to a certain cloth and have it show you this stuff. Gorgeous detail. But I'm telling you, you cannot fit your chisel underneath the finger fat in such a way to carve that. Do you understand, guys? You can't do that. Even if you had the wherewithal to pre-think all the intricacies of his tendons, his muscles, the model, the pushing down, all the subtle curvature here. It's gorgeous, right? It's so gorgeous. This isn't about talent. This is about technology. Wet cloth simulation number 16. Roses, downloadable from 3dshare.com. Blah, blah, blah. I just made that up. But I'm just telling you the chisel couldn't do this. It's just too small for the chisel. That's all. It's just too small for the chisel. Perfect for a 3D program. Perfect. In fact, it looks like there's some similarities. I even see a symmetry in the rendering. You can do what's called a spline render in 3D. You guys know that? A spline? It's a three-dimensional curlicue, sort of like a pig's tail. And once you have the spline, the center, you can fatten it and taper it. You can say, I would like the spline to begin at 4 centimeters and end at 2, and it will taper down. It's a standard 3D stuff. It's great. I hope you see that I'm not destroying the awe of this. I'm injecting mystery is what I'm doing. I'm telling you, it's not what you're told. It's not what you're told. Look at that. This is an anatomy model with a skin cloth simulation on top of the anatomy model. And then it's running its own sim cloth animation on this cloth that's around it, guys. That's what you're looking at. Probably some sort of geopolymer. Probably some sort of acoustic, rapid petrifying geopolymer is probably what it is. And I'll tell you, I've worked with a Carrara marble. It's not this completely fault-proof everywhere. It's not. It's not. You're going to have to make compromises in that. There's no compromises here because it's not a subtractive medium. This is a rendered medium. It's very different. Yeah, good. I'm glad you're seeing it with new eyes because you should. David, same thing. Fucking gorgeous statue. Gorgeous. That big, white Carrara marble, I don't think that you could stand this up. I don't think that it would have the strength, honestly, for that hand not to fall off with Carrara marble. There's one place to buy Carrara marble in America, and it's in Elberton, Georgia, the place of the Georgia Guidestones, by the way. And you can go there and you can look at some of the finest marble you can find, and you will see exactly what I'm telling you, that you cannot carve these kinds of intricacies in here. This is something different. Perhaps it's a petrified plaster, maybe. Perhaps. I don't know. But that's the beauty of it. You're not supposed to know. We're not here to learn this stuff. We're here to wonder about it. We're here to install wonder again. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're all here. We don't want to know everything. Imagine living in the world where you knew everything. Imagine there was no you having to speculate what Swedish Laps would be like in the land of Swedish Laplandia, right? It's the fact that you have to wonder what that would be like that makes it so special. Excuse me, I have to grab this cup. So, with that said, I would like to remind you guys what happened at Notre Dame. First of all, let's go back to the Revolution, the French Revolution. The French Revolution, Marie Antoinette was sacrificed. Her head was sent to the guillotine. It was removed, and the entire village of Paris went apeshit and had a revolution. And they felt the entire thing was organic. They swore all this is organic. French lives matter. French lives matter. And one of the things they did is they decapitated the statues on top of Notre Dame. They took off all the statues, and this was the marking. This was the symbolic marking of the French Revolution is here. Liberty and equality. That was the French Revolution. And if your compassion aperture is small enough, you will see that as saying, yes, that's beautiful. I love liberty and I love equality, so let's go burn down some statues. If your aperture was small enough, you would see that as being a great idea. But if your aperture is bigger, you could look at that and go, fuck, both those words are wrong. Liberty means we are in slavery. Equality means we want communism. The words should have been sovereignty, right? It should have been sovereignty. Holy cow, Chris Jones, thank you so much. I've never seen a red super chat. Holy jeez, thank you. Thank you for the daily electricity and gravy, James. It's go time. Hell yeah, it is. Look what you just did. Man. Coldy is a digital 3D artist and physical artist. This is truth in plain sight. Yes, you hear that, guys? Coldy, 3D artist, he knows. When I said cloth sim, Coldy did this. He's like, this guy knows. He knows what he's talking about. He even used the word sim. He totally knows. Right, Coldy? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Viva la FLM. FLM. Not sure what that means, Gabe, but thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are awesome. Awesome. So, the French Revolution was not what we think it was. Just like the pyramids were not what we think it was. James, what was the French Revolution? The French Revolution was the installation of a new power center. And in order to have a new power center, you have to remove the last power center. You have to do it. You can't have two power centers around. Remember how I told you how important mystery is? Just like mystery is important, mystery creates a space, a crucible for gnosis, okay? To remove statues creates a crucible for new ones, all right? To remove the head of Marie Antoinette, to remove the head of all the saints on Notre Dame gives room for new ones, all right? It creates it a priori. It's a cause and effect, all right? Friends, if your aperture's small, before the Notre Dame fire, you heard a story that they had to remove the statues off the top of the roof because they were renovating, and they didn't want anything to happen to them. So to make sure that they were not defiled, to make sure that nothing bad happened to these statues, they decided that they would protect them by chopping their heads off with a acetylene torch. That was the way to preserve the sanctity of these statues. And this in broad daylight, you were told that in order to protect these statues, we have to cut their heads off and airlift them in broad daylight in a rapture of bronze. And so while they're in Paris, you watched in broad daylight as every statue's head was removed and it was flown off the building. And then miraculously,
ce qui est unique, c'est que c'est la première fois qu'on les voit de près depuis qu'elles ont
like, this is crazy. No one here understands French, so I can translate any way I want. And I want people to know that James True is a very wonderful guy who has a fabulous channel, and all the super chats and patrons makes it all possible. So yes, the sweetest Lapland is for him. They, in broad daylight, is how you get away with this stuff. You erase history in broad daylight. You don't go in and say, we have to tear these statues down because we want to put up new statues, because then people will be like, you can't tear that down. How dare you do that? You have to do it in such a way where it's shock and awe. Shock and awe. And that's what, this was the French Revolution part 2. The second time. And it happened in broad daylight. And people are telling each other, James, they had to acetylene torch their heads off to protect them while they move them, which is freaking insane. Because if you really wanted to do that, you would wrap them in some sort of protective cloth so they're not seen. If you really truly had to get inside the statue to reach any kind of scaffolding that might have been in there, you could drill a hole the size of a fist in the back or in the front and take them down. Furthermore, guys, one of the statues has his arm and he's holding up a big staff. So his head is not even the thing that's the highest point of the statue. Still, every fucking head was removed exactly where the head is. And it's just like in the French Revolution. Just like it. What you're looking at on screen is the stone heads that were removed. And I want you to read something very important. On this head, attributed in the caption below, it says this: it was the French Revolution, and the people, it's spelled that way, and the people were disgusted by the monarchy. It was not enough to take the king and queen to the guillotine. Even symbols of royalty had to be destroyed. A phenomenon known as vandalism révolutionnaire. And that's what I want you to see, that word. Vandalism révolutionnaire. And all of these statues were decapitated in broad daylight, just like the kings of Judah, just like Marie Antoinette. We'll get to that. And what happens a week later? the building burns. The forest of rafters that held the Notre Dame has been shown under camera to have a acetylene torch pointing at them for 18 hours straight, and it will still not catch fire. Notre Dame architects said that the most expensive, elaborate, arson-proof, fireproof system, that has ever been installed or employed ever in the world was installed at Notre Dame. And it happened in broad daylight. And because all of us have an addiction to know there can be no mystery, when all this came out, all of us were told the cause of the fire is unknown. And we, being trained like good little puppets of government education, decided that we now know the answer. What was the cause of the Notre Dame fire? Oh, it was unknown. The cause of the fire was unknown. Yeah, I read it. So you don't have to ask why it is, because it's already been written that the cause is unknown. Why are you bringing up old news? Can't you see news? Do you know how much has happened? Are you not sensitive to Black Lives Matter? Because this is old news. We're talking about new news, right? The cause of the fire is unknown was sold to you as the cause of the fire. So even mystery itself is hidden. They don't want you to think about this. They don't want you to wonder. They want you to think everything's solved. It comes with a certain cortisol. It comes with a certain dopamine hit. It comes with a certain calmness, as the reptilian brain does not fear something that is not novel. The reptilian brain responds to novelty. But we have 7 wonders. They've already been found. We already know what they contain. This is what we do to each other in broad daylight. And my friends, the Yellow Vest movement is the same thing. The Yellow Vest movement is le vandalisme révolutionnaire. In October 1793, the Vault of Kings in the St. Denis Basilica had its head removed, which is ironic because the only statue in, check it out, in Notre Dame, there's actually a statue of a saint with his head off. He's actually holding his head, and that's St. Denis. And during the French Revolution, one of the most famous vaults, the Vault of Kings, was desecrated in the name of revolution. The heritage of Paris itself was gutted, raped, and eviscerated to make room for more heritage, for the next replacement, right? And what are you looking at now? Yellow vests and Antifa. Do you really think mopeds spontaneously catch on fire like this? These are high quality, top photography. What I mean by that is that this is how you decapitate heritage. You destroy it in plain daylight and you tell everyone it's for their own good. And people believe it. Because it's vandalisme révolutionnaire. And anyone who's upset about anything, anyone who's been ignored, anyone who suffers from dissonance now has an opportunity, a call to the streets, right? A call to arms, so to speak. And yesterday, if you watched my stream, I read out the list of 60, I can't even do it with the hands, 60 statues that the BLM have said these have to go. 60. In the last 4 days, 5 or 6 of them have already been taken down. 60 have to be decapitated and removed. Why? Is it because of Black Lives Matter? Is it because of Black Lives Matter? We know the answer is no. I'm telling you it's because of history. I'm telling you because they are replacing your history. That's why they're doing it. That's what happens because this is how you have to do it. You have to cut the root, the chronic root. Once you do, no one's going to give a shit. They won't care. They'll think heritage is racism. They'll be shamed into even considering that heritage should be more important than that. Let's go to tape.
Down, and then there was a gentleman who was directly in front of.
What did you see?
We witnessed we were taking down the monument, the Confederate monument, and there was an individual in the front. They were pulling on a cord, and they had been working at the legs for some time. They had been trying to get it down, and then there was a gentleman who was directly in front of the statue, and when the statue finally did get weighed, it came and fully hit him in the head. And we could see that his skull was actually showing. He was convulsing on the ground. He lost a great amount of blood. And we was asking everybody to pray for that man right now. So I wasn't able to get his...
All right, what did you see?
We witnessed we were taking down the monument, the Confederate monument, and there was an individual in the front. They were pulling on a cord, and they had been working at the legs for some time. They had been trying to get it down, and then there was a gentleman who was directly in front of the statue, and when the statue finally did get weighed, it came and fully hit him in the head.
Decapitating statues. 60 of them have to go, all under the auspices of liberty and equality. Exact same motivation, my friends. Exactly the same. Man, makes me cough when I talk French. Same system. Do Black Lives Matter? If a fucking statue lands on one and cracks his skull open, do Black Lives Matter? Or are they less than a bronze statue so that we can make room for new history? I would say no. I would say Black lives do not seem to matter that much. Not nearly as much as the history, as replacing the history. Man, another one. Thank you so much, Svatik. Man, that's huge. And Viva la Red Revolution. Thank you, Callie. Thank you guys so much. Wow, the screen actually had stopped, so I missed a lot of these. I hope I didn't miss more. I'm going to hit refresh. I think that this is not going to break. Hopefully you guys will still be there when it refreshes. So, what you're seeing now with Black Lives Matter is happened with French Revolution, and it's happening in front of us every day. And the kid that got hit, his life doesn't matter. This is not Black Lives Matter at all. It's the antithesis of Black Lives Matter. These people are looking for a racism molecule in bronze. They're under the impression that if they smash the bronze statue, that when it hits the ground, the impact causes the racist molecules of bronze to be released into the ether. And hopefully, because everyone's wearing a mask, they will not breathe in the racism that escaped from the statue. That's the lesson. That's what Black Lives Matter means right now. Black Lives Matter is a movement to replace history. Black Lives Matter is the decapitation of the old to make room for liberty and equality. And you end up with a militarized, demilitarized Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone of Seattle. What you're looking at is Dan Boingo pushing the narrative that we need a national police by showing you graphics of the Capitol Hill Free Zone in Seattle. A zone that has, thanks to the media, is being shown to you as a liberty, equality land of Seattle. And we have berets, and we drink coffee, and we think everyone should be a sodomite. You create a system, and I want you to look closely. I realize it's hard to see, but please note that right next to the newly formed media-inspired Capitol Hill Free Zone is where they had the march, is where they were offering free food and bathrooms for protesters during marching. All right? This is how you plan a festival. This is how you plan an event at the lake. This is how you plan a revolution. You cut the heads off, and if anyone black dies, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. This is what they do in broad daylight. And we lack the calories, we lack the compassion's aperture as a whole to see the long story. Do you realize how many calories it takes for someone to think all the way back to the French Revolution, to go against their teacher who told them what it was, and to go, hey, this looks very similar to this, and to come on here and listen to someone like me tell you that Black Lives Matter is bullshit? That requires a lot of compassion calories. Why? Because you're surrounded by people that want that quick fix, that have a very low caloric appetite and think, well, I want to be compassionate, so Black Lives Matter. In French, I want to be compassionate, so liberté and equality. Of course we must cut the tart's head off. It is only how it is done. The ones with little compassion feed into it, and they chomp at it like a bit. They love it. This is how you install something. You remove what was there, you install something new. You can't remove it yourself. You get the people to remove it by calling it racist. That's how you do it. In order to combat racism, I have an idea. I want you to listen to me close here. I have an idea for how we can combat racism. And we're going to use the Black Lives Matter motto. And here's how it's going to work, man. Huddle up. Hear me out. You picture this on a sign. Black retards matter. Can you picture that? Black retards matter. All right? Now, if we have a giant banner made in every city and we place Black retards matter, I believe that it's going to cause some sort of synaptic breach in these people. I believe it will short out their compassion aperture, and like a light bulb, it will go poof, it will pop. Because they will be torn between whether Black retards matter is good or bad. And if they tell you it's bad, you get to say, oh, so Black retards don't matter. And if they try and squirm out of that, you got them. Because it's the exact same squirm they would have to use to get out of all lives matter. So Black retards matter. This is how you combat the low compassion revolutionnaire. The vandalism revolutionnaire. We must go out and spray paint bad things and call people naughty people and set things on fire and have sodomy. That's what you're looking at with this capital city stuff. That's what you're looking at with George Floyd's funeral. This is Pimp My Funeral. And Joe Biden couldn't come. He teleconferenced in because Black Lives Matter. And they matter so much that famous artists made logos. Mayors and governors came and bowed down at a golden coffin All of them covered their face. Buses were flown in with massive graphics. Children took pictures in their I Can't Breathe shirt. A white carriage carried by white horses led the golden coffin through the procession. The Reverend Al Sharpton made an appearance. He had a gig to play. People lined up for miles to worship the dead black guy. To say, yes, your life matters now that you're dead. Because now that you're dead, we get to pretend like we care about you. We get to race with Joe Biden and with Reverend Al Sharpton to see which of us can cram in to say, I was there. I was there. Which means I care. And everyone with a low compassion will see that and fall for it. And they'll make t-shirts. And you can sell that t-shirt on eBay. And you'll get virtue from it. People see, you were at the George Floyd funeral? And you won't say yes or no because you don't want them to know. You just say, it's too hard to talk about. It's too hard for me to discuss. Yes, I was at the French Revolution. I got a t-shirt. It said, take your cake and shove it. It was wonderful. The guy who printed it, he was like a cousin of my brother. He worked. It was a good deal. Yes, it was a very good deal. This is the gold-plated Promethean casket provided by some famous boxer. Sorry, guys, I forgot. Mayweather? I actually think it was like Floyd. Shit, I was probably wrong. But it's a very famous black boxer paid for all of this. And please note that every pallbearer was required to wear a mask. Even at the most precious ritual of his death, the people that made all this happen wanted his pallbearers wearing black masks. Because it's Pimp My Funeral. And everyone complied. Everyone wore white. Everyone bought a new suit. And it was sold. It was sold across the world because they needed to tear down 60 bronze statues. They needed to make room for new ones. And this is the only way you can do that. Is you turn a man into a spectacle. And you put him on a pedestal because he's a dead guy now. Because it's easier to care if you're a dead guy. And this shows you how much we have to work on race relations, doesn't it? Fucking Grammy-winning artists came into play. Neo, or I don't know who it is. Maybe he's a nice guy. It was his gig. It wasn't a dead guy. It was a gig. It was a gig with Black Lives Matter prawn attached to it. Yeah, I was there. Wow, you sang at his funeral? Yeah. Wow, man, how much did you make? Like $25,000. Wow, you must really care. I gave $5,000 of it to Black Lives Matter too. Don't even know the guy. The point is that everyone here did not know George Floyd. And the people that did know Floyd, think about it, guys, did not know George Floyd not wearing a mask. Did not know George Floyd not wearing a mask. This guy did not know George Floyd and he's wearing a mask. Okay, that's an anomaly, but he wasn't talking. This is all bullshit. Not wearing a mask. Be the most disgusting thing I can imagine, being turned into a martyr and buried like this. I can't even imagine how shitty that must feel. And it tells you a lot about his family, doesn't it? It tells you a lot about his family. And you can say, oh, that's, James, it's his time of need. Da, da, da. Guys, I've had people die in my family, and the last thing I fucking want is Reverend Al Sharpton there. That is fucking insane. Excuse my French. Excuse my French! Right? So we're not learning anything new here in the sense of these are not new psyops. This is the oldest psyop in the world. And they'll be pushing this for a while, as long as the heads come off, right? As long as the heads roll. As long as we have vandalism revolutionnaire. And I hope that the irony is striking you as much as it's striking me. That a black guy probably lost his life trying to pull down a bronze statue of someone that wasn't even racist. But he was convinced because he was told that inside the molecules of bronze, there lies racism. And I hope that when you see that, I hope that when you hear that, you believe me when I tell you, this is germ theory. American racism is germ theory. It's based on the pretend hunt to murder one of 300 trillion viruses inside your body because you've decided it's evil. And as long as we have this Zionistic quickening over which one of us is germed the most, which one of us has the evil bacteria inside of us, as long as we fall for that shit, we will continue killing more black people in the name of liberating bronze molecules that might be racist. This problem is only going away when more people bud compassion. Those people will not bud compassion as long as they are being suckled for dumping blind compassion when asked. I'm sorry I'm being enunciating. Maybe I was confusing that. When you have a small compassion aperture, someone can come by and say, spit it up. Spit it up. George Floyd, spit it up. And I want you to imagine that at every single street corner, there is a beggar with a cardboard sign that says, spit it up, Black Lives Matter. And the people that give him $1 go home and feel good. They say, oh, I did something nice today. And they have no idea that what they were doing was making a prana economy transaction, was saying, I would like to not feel like shit. This man is making me feel like shit with this sign saying, spit it up, Black Lives Matter. I would like to not feel that anymore. I will give him $1. And that is what's happening across the board inside of our prana economy. The subterranean intersections that we all have in this world are preoccupied with vampiric, homeless people that hold cardboard signs that say homestyle croutons on one side, and when you turn them over, it says Black Lives Matter, give it up. And they will stay there as long as people give it up. As long as people will say, if I give this $1 to a stranger, I can go and I will not feel as shitty as I did before I saw him. And therefore, I will stop being compassionate because I already had to give today on my way home from work. Big, big butts of compassion. Thank you, Simon33. This is how we fix this. I'm not saying scold these people. I'm saying you have to cream pie them. You have to hit them with this soft love compassion thing with truth. You got to knock them off kilter. Black retards matter. Not everyone has to use this arrow, but it's a good one. Put it in your quiver. Something to consider. Make it expensive for them to give the homeless guy $1. That's all I'm asking. Inform them what a soup kitchen is. Inform them what true compassion can look like. Show them that not only is it more caloric to have real compassion, but the payoff is freaking huge. It's a much bigger prana payoff. We are growing. We are sprouting. We are learning. Dojo Earth is doing its job. And I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't. In other news today, I was in the grocery store yesterday, and as I looked at all the employees and their masks, suddenly occurred to me that all grocery stores have been invaded by Cobra Commander. And that what you think are face masks about COVID are actually secret, undercover Cobra Commander operatives. So when you go shopping, remember that, okay? And be careful out there. And thank you so much, Love Bear. Zen Master says, Black retard matter. And yes, it does. Black retards matter, my friends. Black retards matter. Don't let him get you. Give your compassion to who earns it. It will be worth more. You will be a better person for it. You will. You already are. You already are. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We'll see if we can get one last little guy. We'll see if he'll take that. You want it or not? All right. That's a good way to end the show. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for the chat. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Take care. Black retards matter. Revolution! Oh! Liberté! Equality! Black retards